Hey everybody, my name is Damien. Thank you so much for watching this video. In this video, I want to tell you about my testimony about how Jesus saved me out of my own despair and how he actually healed me and how he got me to the part of where I am at today. And I want to share you this because I believe that there is so much power in believing and walking with Jesus that I just cannot shut my mouth anymore and just want to share what I've been going through in the past 7 years. So here we go. So when I was younger, it was actually pretty hard for me. I always have felt different from other people, and it was basically due to a few things. First of all, at home, I had so much rejection and neglect from my parents, and basically the home situation that we went through. My father was very mentally ill, and it was very heavy for us all. And yeah, it was heavy, especially because my dad had so much trauma in his life that he wanted to prevent me from experiencing the same. But in doing so, he was so harsh and so scared and always wanted to make sure that I was doing well that he actually made reached the opposite effect in me. And that was very hard. And I always had to listen to him preaching about whatever I did wrong or whatever should have been better. And I already at the age of 7, I had this hours long overwhelm of my dad saying what I had to do and what I should have done different. And whatever I did right, there was always something, always that something that was not right enough. And it's actually pretty sad that my dad was the person who actually wanted to prevent me from feeling how he did. And actually, yeah, because of his hurt, it ended up like that, Now, that has been very hard, and neglect and rejection has been a big part of my life. Now, I obviously went to school, and at school, I also felt different because, well, when I was younger, I wasn't so mature. Of course, not as a young child, but I had many difficulties in my emotional regulation and my social skills. I was lacking behind, basically. Now, looking back, that is due to the complex trauma that was induced in my youth. But back then, it was diagnosed as autism. Autism has been a great part of my story since, because it has been defining, especially by other people, on what I should do or ought to, and so on and on. Okay. Now, I had been going to school, and due to my lack of emotional social skills, I was placed at a special educational needs school. And yeah, basically I was the smartest kid out there. I had no real friends there. And well, basically starting from there, it was very lonely. I always really liked talking with the older people there, the teachers, the people working there, for they had some interesting things to say. Now, part of me being young was a lot about feeling down often, because at school I didn't fit in, and at home I always got to hear what I did wrong and what else. I also went to therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, and it basically was the foundation of a whole lot of good things, basically. But at the same time, the hurt, the feelings of not being heard and so on, those weren't ever properly addressed. And yeah, basically I became a whole something on myself at that moment. Now, at that moment, it was not just only feeling down, because I have been gifted with many gifts by God. I am a very blessed man with all the things that I have received from God from childhood on. For example, I'm very good at music making, hence the way my room looks. But also, I have been very blessed and gifted with a good working brain. I'm intelligent, and I'm okay with saying that because I know that, yeah, God has blessed me with good working brains. Also, I'm very creative, and I am able to think of many ideas. My imagination goes crazy sometimes, so I really wonder, is this the real life or is this just fantasy? But sometimes that's also a funny thing after so now and then. So with all of that said, with so much rejection and neglect coming on, I eventually became like, well, there's also I became angry about that, deep inside. I wasn't aware of that, but I became very angry about not being seen, that I always got to hear what went wrong and never what is right. And I became actually proud of what I actually did right, because that was the only thing that I heard back then of what was actually going well and going great. Basically, I confirmed myself, and that was my way of surviving. I basically, with the lack of nurture and the lack of confirmation from my parents back then, I confirmed myself, and I talked sense to myself by reminding myself that I actually got some good things, some skills and gifts. Now, I have been making music since I was a child, and back then I was already DJing and drumming and producing music, and that was like it was wonderful. But that it was still the very much unhealed version of myself. I felt lonely, but I was accompanying myself with my skills and the fact that I was actually great at a few things. Right now, I came to high school eventually, and there it was basically a time in which I had a lot of growth, but also there's wins and gains, but also losses, and I discovered more of myself, but also because there was so much hardship from my home situation, basically, and also at school I wasn't properly acknowledged. Like I said, I went to special educational needs, and then I had got to high school, and it was so easy for me. It was it was very easy for me, but I felt so. Yeah, at first I was very. I finally another situation, and it's cool, but even there I was basically an outsider all the time, and it was very sad for me. It was very lonely for me. At the end of high school, I had a good friend, and she was. We were very close. It was good. It was nice. Nothing romantic, but it was just a good friendship. And she was a Christian, and I had a few other Christian friends. And back then, we were talking a lot on the phone and WhatsApp and whatnot. And one day I asked her, "Hey, what are you going to do today?" And it was a Sunday. And she said, "Well, I'm going to church, and then I'm going to the youth group of the church, and then in the night it was something else church." and that made me think back then, because I was like, "Whoa, that's actually pretty funny." Now I got to think of it. I have actually a lot of friends who are Christian, and I knew that as a fact, and I was a little, I didn't know. I wasn't really thinking a lot about it. I wasn't also very open to it back then, but some things changed. Pretty much. So she said it, and I said, "Well, it's actually pretty funny that I have a lot of friends who are Christian." And then she said, one of us." That was the best thing she could have ever said, because back then yeah, it triggered me. I was like, yeah, why don't I believe? What is it actually? And I started to ask questions. I was so nervous, so nervous because I felt like so much going on within me. I was tingling all the way, couldn't sleep. I was about to do some homework that Sunday. that didn't go as planned anymore because I've been looking at videos. So I literally Googled proof that God exists, and I saw some videos, and I was like, well, this could actually be true. And then she gave me something to read out of the Bible, and I remembered that one little website that a friend of mine once said that he read the Bible online. I was like, whoa, revolutionary. And then I came to that website. I don't even know exactly the website or whether it exists anymore, but back then I read, I think, something out of Matthew, and I read about a man and he was walking and things happened, and I was like, wait, I can read this, I can understand this. I had no idea what it was about, you know. I was like, this is actually a thing. This is actually, you know, I was reading about Jesus, obviously, and he was walking and talking, and it is actually a thing. Oh, well. So then I became interested and I grew more towards the faith. And that first day was also the first day I ever prayed. Oh, that was scary. At the same time, very, I don't know what I'm doing, I guess. It was basically a video with an altar call. And if this video touched you, then you can pray with me for salvation, blah, 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 blah. I didn't know what it all meant, but that felt good. Now, it was, I guess, that day or that week that I came to my parents and I said, Mom, Dad, I have to tell you something. I think that I found the Christian faith. And they laughed at me and they were like, oh, here he is again. But I just was like, yeah, well, I don't know. But the rest of the upcoming week, I was still busy with the faith, you know, and reading about it and looking all kinds of proofs, and it was undeniable for me. It wasn't like very obvious, and it wasn't something like very rational as well. I just didn't understand anything of it looking back, but it felt right. It felt like my spirit was touched, and it felt like the right thing. I didn't need convincing, you know. It was like it was already there, or like, I don't know. It was something. So next week, also at the same place, same time, basically. Then I came to my parents and I said, Mom, Dad, I think that I actually believe this. And then they reacted different, and they said, well, if that is the case, why don't you go visit a church then? And I was like, oh, yeah, of course. that's connected, right? Yeah, I should go to a church. Now, what church should I attend? Now, I came to a church of my friends. So the one of the girlfriend of mine, but also a few other friends, and I was like, yeah, I think I'm getting it. Like I said, I was very proud of my quick understanding and all my gifts and so on. So basically, I visited a few times, and eventually I was like, well, yeah, I always have to go, because it was like I had to bike like 30, 45 minutes all the time, and I was getting a bit upset about that. So I visit. So I wanted to visit a church in my neighborhood, more close to where I lived, and I realized that because one friend was more evangelical, Baptist, and other one was more like conservative / reformatic, yeah. And and I was like, well, I like the singing very much, and it is way more uplifting, and I like being here way more. So I basically Googled evangelic church, and then at the place where I lived back then. And well, the first result, that was where I went. where went to. So said, so done, and I went there, and they were very welcoming. I was like, whoa, this is like unlike everything I've ever imagined of ever experienced, right? Very friendly, and the teachings really, I didn't hear that. I think that I didn't understand anything at all, even though I thought I understood. But I remember I was still at a time at which I was like, I was at the top, at the peak of my complex trauma. I was already in university, by the way, back then, because the friend of mine who introduced me to the faith, I met her at the end of high school, and we stayed friends for like the first few years when I was at university. So it was at the second grade of university that I came to the faith. Now, I was, I think, for like half a year, three quarters of a year, I went to that church. And then I decided, yeah, I want to go baptize. Because that is the thing that is supposed to happen. Little did I know what it would mean. Oh, I can laugh about it. That's a good sign. Now, I went to the church and baptized myself, and I joined the youth club, and it was at that time that like the stress, because my father was still very hard on me, and my mom, because of all the stress, was pretty much emotional, unavailable, and that's where a lot of the pain of neglect, or at least how I experienced the neglect, came from. Now, at that time, all of that was happening still, and I was thinking, this is it, this is the faith. I've got everything figured out now. I thought also that everyone at church thought the same, that everyone was alike, thought all the same things. I was surprised to discover that actually there's so much division at the church, so many people who actually don't know anything, or are like so country, saying country things to one another, that I was like, oh, well, okay. Now, I was somebody who thought he had figured it all out. And I was facing, well, basically biblical truths. And I wanted to understand, of course, because this is the truth. This is everything. And it is the truth and it is everything. But I was too much thinking still out of what I thought would be, and not open to whatever God would have told me. Now, I have not, at that moment, not consciously met God himself just yet. It was not a personal relationship in any sense. And he allowed me, so in a passive way, I wasn't aware of it, but he allowed me to be actually completely, well, so, okay, let me tell it like this. When I came to the faith and was baptized, it was not a period of time that started then that everything was going all right. Actually, all things that I had built up were broken, because the hurt and all the things and all the struggles that I was dealing with and suppressed because I wanted to feel good, overwhelmed me, and it was basically game over for me. I had to. When I was first at unconscious survival mode, I became double full-time, like all day long survival mode, like conscious. And I had always a lot of dreams and hopes, and I had to let them go, and I didn't want to. I tried so hard to continue on, but I couldn't. I was broken. I felt like a loser. I felt like everything, and that was 7 years ago. 7 years ago, when I came to the faith, and when I felt like that, and it was actually not a fun time. Now, my character, like I am as a person, my character is like very keen, and I want to know everything. If I could, I want to know everything, and I will try very hard and work my way through it all, and try to understand. And I will read the Bible like crazy all day long, just trying to understand. But yeah, I just couldn't. There was too much going on. I also had school. I also had my home situation. I also had other activities I attended to. My schedule was always like full, only blocked, all kinds of things going on all the time. And it wasn't possible anymore. So I became depressed for a very long time. Not depressed like I couldn't do anything anymore, but very high functioning depressed. I became like very, very sad all the time. Now, many people wouldn't always consciously see that about me, have seen that about me, because like I said, I was very, like you could have noticed from my story, I was very good at pretending, very good at hiding, especially from myself. But at this time, when I figured out that something is going on here, I discovered that I am actually very, very gifted, very, very profoundly gifted. And I met people who of my church who are also counselors and therapists on this subject of being gifted. And I had to learn to feel again. I had to learn to feel the hurt and understand myself again. Because everything I knew about myself was wrong, was not who I was. It was all just trying to make it work, I mean, I was 12, 13 years old, and I was already reading all the kinds of self-help books and the things, And every time when I was hurt, always running to stimuli that wasn't healthy for me. Visual stimuli, sensitive, sensual. Now you know what I mean. Such kind of things. And it was very, very, very hard. And at the same time, I learned to feel again, to come in touch with myself again. Now I wanted to hear God. I needed to do the right thing because I heard so many people, like the prophetic people, who walked with God and did all kinds of things and heard Him. And I wanted that as well because that was the right thing. And I was always looking outside to tricks, ways, manners, the right thing. And I never looked at my pain, which was actually preventing me from all the great things that God is in store for me. Now, I had learned, it took me years before I could actually properly look at myself and see for who I am. I'm still at that process, actually. It is now. No, I'm going to say that later. But back then, I was so hard in my own strength trying to figure it all out. I needed to do it right. I needed to, for the first time, work, and I felt broken, and I didn't want to show it because I didn't want the rejection anymore. But I know that I had so many gifts, I had so many dreams, I had so many passions, desire, but I weren't able. I wasn't able to perform at my own level, and I felt bad about it, and it was so hard, so incredibly hard for me. Yeah, I felt terrible, basically, felt really terrible, but I learned. Slowly, very slowly. I was always I really didn't like having to say I cannot or I want to, but I cannot, right? Because I didn't want to face the fact that I was broken. Because I had so much rejection based on my brokenness that I didn't believe that people would love me like that. I didn't love myself because of it. I hated myself. I had a deep-rooted hate for myself because of all of this. I just covered it up with my gifts and talents, and it wasn't possible anymore. And God allowed it all. Now, over time, I learned to think more biblically and see things more for what they are. Um, so I have struggled a lot with the human condition. I am not perfect, and there's a lot of things hindering myself becoming the person who I know or want that I am and that I can be. And I need healing. I need help. I need something. What is it? Now, there is something that is important in this story. Because at the very beginning of my journey in the faith, I had heard that God can give dreams. Now, naturally, I'm I'm getting excited when I heard such things, you know, and I wanted to have those dreams. I wanted to have dreams as well. So I remember first I was very anxious about it, like what could happen, and I had no idea what could happen. But eventually, I felt like I could do this, and I prayed before going to sleep. God, give me a dream. I want something like that. Okay, something like that. Back then, I got a dream, and that dream has been that has been the very thing that perhaps had kept me going consciously for like the first many years of my Christian faith. For it was a dream about my future. It was a dream about what I could mean and could do in the kingdom of God. It was a dream in which I would see myself preaching and teaching in front of a giant auditorium. And I would say a stadium, perhaps even. And I would say all kinds of things like, yeah, we are children of God and we are being set free and so on. And at that moment, many people were like, oh, right, okay, yeah, kinda, I get it. But then I saw a wave over the people going, a wave. And that wave that went over their head. And when it went over their head, they were like, yeah, I know, we are children of God. And this is amazing. And they got the message, right? But then the dream shifted and it zoomed out. It zoomed out and I didn't see just that stadium, the auditorium, but I saw like some giant square, right? Some cobblestone square. And I saw, and it spanned over the whole earth. And I saw millions and millions and I don't know how many people. I couldn't tell them, count them. And I saw the same movement happening all at once. I saw like the Spirit of God hovering over the whole body of people at the same time, and they were all like the same. And then I woke up at 4 a.m. and I was like, oh, well, I had no idea what it meant, but I knew this is going to be something. I didn't write it down, but I spoke a voice message to a friend of mine. I lost it. Anyway, I spoke. I told a friend, and I can still see it very clearly in my mind. But at all the moments in which I was like, I don't know, I feel like crap and all kinds of things. At those moments, that dream reminded me. It was also very much at the beginning of my faith that I had that was one dream, the first of many, many, many in which God had revealed so many things to me that I just didn't understand back then. Well, after like 3 years of being in the faith, there had been a pretty much a dry period because, I lost myself and I had to learn, and I tried so hard to do it right. I didn't know, am I allowed to do something? Should I wait on God? Because I had heard people who were like, no, surrender, leave everything to God. He has it for you. And I was like so proud because I just wanted to do all the kind of things out of my own strength. And I didn't know what it meant that Jesus actually gives power and strength to those who rely on him, right? He doesn't expect me to work so hard out of my own strength. He wants to give me the strength. He wants to give me the ideas. He wants to give me the courage and all the things that I need actually to do the things that he called me to. And well, in the dry period, like I said, I I grew and I grew and I grew, and I started healing and started attending counseling, and I went through the whole shebang. And eventually I became like more confident and became more like secure. It was undeniable for me that whatever God has planned for me, that is actually for me. But for a very long time, I had no idea what it actually was. I saw the end result, or like something like which I presumed was the end result, and I had no idea how to get there. And I was so frustrated, so frustrated. I just wanted to do the thing. I just wanted to. I wanted to hear God. I wanted to bless people. I wanted to go around the world, make music, and do all these kind of amazing things. But I wasn't able because I needed to heal. And then I gave up and surrendered to the process of healing. And it was a long process. Oh, man. But God has been very loyal to me. I tried still very much on my own strength. But I started to believe that it is possible with God, right? So I didn't know what it meant to let God heal me. I just went and read all the therapy books and all the psychology. I have gained very much, not like I could probably get the exam of like a psychology major, maybe like the first part of it. But I've learned so much in that period of time. And actually, during that time, I came to see a lot of things in other people as well. Like I was healing and facing myself and all that's in me and all the brokenness, but also the good things and the intentions behind things and the reason why I'm actually scared of things and the reason why I do certain things and the reason why I do not do certain things, even though I would like to and so on. So I became very knowledgeable and I experimented with myself and other people. So I would like try something and how does it feel and here is, you can hear it. I learned to feel again. I learned to actually become confident again in myself. Now, it was all still based on the strength of me, and it was actually not so long ago that I've got through so much and learned the spiritual warfare. I learned the spiritual side. I learned like the physical, the mental, emotional side, and I learned to become more social, more confident in my skills, and I learned more of my purpose on this world. And I really grew in a lot of ways, but I had not learned to trust God. And it was like very short ago, I can assure you, very short ago, last week, that God, when I felt like I'm almost there, I guess, but there's something missing still, you know that feeling, like I'm so close, but there's something missing, that God had spoken to me through a prophetic session, which I attended online. And the people there prophesied over me and corrected me that I was actually very, very proud. And I was like, God never said this to me. Maybe he said, but I wasn't aware back then. And I was thinking, and I was like, oh. And then I felt it all again, all the rejection and all the pain of what I had hidden by just trying to do it all myself. But I knew the gospel well enough back then that I was like, oh, I should repent and change, right? Because I already had repented and changed so many times now, that it was like, this is the best thing to do. And so I faced my fear. It was terrible. It was so deep. It was very deep. But I went through it because I had learned and figured out by reflecting on what they said and prophesied over me that I tried everything to do on my own strength so far. What actually, if God wants to give it to me, if I would let go and say, I am not capable of this, but you are, my God, my Papa in heaven. You are capable. You are able. I trust you. And this took a few days. But once I have gone through that, heaven opened up. Heaven opened up. All the ideas, all the strength, all the favor of God, all my ideas, and all the things that I'd gone through, it clicked. I was like, oh, this is what has been happening to me. Like the story I share you right now. And this is not even all the details and all the depth and layers behind it all. And God has been pouring and pouring, and I have never heard him so clear before. Once I surrendered and trusted him, I heard him so clearly. And I figured out I am so hard on myself. I'm always punishing myself, hating myself. I'm not going to do that. No more. I'm going to be to be saying to myself that I am loved. I believe it. God says that I'm loved. I had heard that sermon by people so many times by then, right? But now I actually was like, yeah, I am a child of God. He wants to give it to me. He has given me all of these strengths and both weaknesses in order so that he would work through me, right? It is not a me part and a God part. It is a together part, because he works in me and he has given me all the talents and all the good things in my life. And he has made it so to be that all these weaknesses and all these hardships that I went through, that they will all be for his glory. And look at me now, I'm sharing my testimony, right? So, and I might simply help people now. And yeah, in the past week, God has been like heaven opened up. I can now see why I'm here. I want to bring heaven to earth. I want to make people see who Jesus is, what it means, what is the good news. Now I'm very prophetic as well, so I might also make it personal, have God to speak through me and encourage people and have examples and things. I'm a builder, a creator. I am somebody who can build heaven on earth, right? Like businesses and places of worship and music and videos and perhaps even software and governmental advising. I don't know. God has amazing plans. That's all I know. I don't know all the specifics. He's still revealing to me, and I'm just obedient now. I have learned to trust him, trust God. He is my papa, my father, my daddy in heaven. And I have learned that he has got it. I can surrender. I can surrender now. I can just live, breathe. Finally be. I don't need to worry if something is from God or not. No, I'm already loved. If I want to do something with the right, and I know it's from the right intentions, I can do. I can like talk with God and say that I want to do is ask for a blessing over it. But also, if I would just do something that happens to be not a good thing, he will correct me. As long as I stay humble and be willing to learn, know that I'm not perfect. I'm still human, just as human as everyone else. I'm not above anyone, because all these things that happened because I only accepted the call. I accepted his work through me, and even though I was still very much relying on my own strength, I had faith in whatever he promised. And it turned out, and it switched later on, only that I would have faith in him. And now I'm okay, whatever, Lord, whatever your will is, whatever you want, I want it too. And I'm very grateful for what he has done in my life. And it is my desire, my deep inner desire to help people go through the same process, perhaps something very different, but whatever, but to help people to find him and to find the purpose and to build heaven on earth, make room, and have the devil no longer steal, kill, and destroy. He stole my joy, he stole my gifts, he stole everything, but it was God who gave it all back because I started trusting him. The devil doesn't want you to come to the realization that you are fully whole and perfect in God. He doesn't want that. He wants you to suffer. He wants you to be separated from him. He wants you to figure it all out on your own. You got to make it, you know? But God already has it for you. He already has perfect plans for your life. Now, this is my testimony. And I'm looking forward to what God is going to do still. And I want to pray for you. If you are somebody who also struggles with the whole process of your own insecurities, maybe you're bullied, maybe you feel like you're a nobody, you cannot ever do it right. Whatever it is, maybe something else resonated with my story. I want to pray for you. And I want to speak life over you. Because trust me, that whenever you trust God, He will make it right. So you can rest. Okay? So if you just receive what I'm going to say, you don't even have to close your eyes. You can just receive and agree. Father in heaven, I thank you for those who are watching this video. I want to say thank you so much for your love and grace and mercy over these persons. And I want to say thank you that you have gone through them. They are still here. Maybe they have gone through suicidal thoughts, maybe through depression, maybe through whatever. But you have kept them still. I pray over them, Father, that you will be very gentle and humble to them, that they will see you and experience you as you are, a loving and compassionate Father, and that Jesus will bring them to you so that they can find rest and peace. Because Jesus is the way, the life, and something else. And I pray over you all that you are going to be very blessed and that you would find peace, joy, and hope again. That you would finally believe in those dreams that you have always considered but never came to pass. That you would find rest and peace in your soul. Never give up, because God has never given up on you, okay? I pray that you would stand up and rise and finally feel free again. But also allow yourself, most importantly, allow yourself and allow God to heal you. Give it time. Give it time. Your time will come. If He has given you the dreams and desires, they will come to pass. Trust God in the process. Surrender yourself. He has a better plan than you have. I pray so much blessings over you that you will overflow, so that you will always be content and have more than enough to share with others. I pray the Lord's blessing over your home, and that you will break free from all of those things that are keeping you back. One by one, you will be set free. And I declare that and decree that in Jesus' name. Amen. So that's my testimony and the prayer for you all, my desire for you all. I thank you so much for watching this video. If you like this video, if you want to see more of my journey and all the things that you have heard, you can subscribe to this video. If you feel led, if you want to sow into my ministry, that means if you want to give me money so that I can help more people like you, then you can do so and find the links in the description. Thank you very much, and I bless you, and I want to say thank you. See you next time.